And everybody, welcome to another edition of the Arkansas Diamond Report with Dudley Dawson. I'm Jason. Thank you all for joining us today. We got a couple of things we want to go over with you that we're going to be giving away here at Hogville. And also, there was a huge series that Arkansas took against Texas Tech over Tuesday and Wednesday, and as they head to Palmetto State in South Carolina to take on the Gamecocks this weekend. So let's bring him on. Dudley, how's it going, man?
Going good. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty darn good. Really quick, I wanted to point this out. A few days ago, Hoggle had an opportunity to do a giveaway. We'll be giving these away. It's this entire set of Arkansas Razorback bobbleheads that you can see up there in the top corner. I got those kind of displayed. You can go on hogville.net to kind of read the full layout with Doug wrote and published today. One lucky winner, Dudley, will be able to win in the entire Hogville or the Tusk set of bobbleheads next week on your show, Otis's show, Kevin's show, all three. Plus, they're going to be doing a giveaway also on hogville.net too as well. So everybody, you got to jump in. We'll kind of come up with a way to do this. It's going to be fun, and you'll be able to get a whole entire set of Tusk. So
sounds good. I'm sure that there'll be a lot of interest in that.
I'm hoping so too, and it's kind of nice to see a giveaway. We had a giveaway during Christmas, and now we're having another giveaway, and we've started to steadily progress again as the seasons have heated up. Obviously, the Coach Cal effect, the Razorbacks being number one for so long during the baseball season. And it's starting to, and we're kind of really in the middle of the baseball season. But the viewers are starting to kind of come back because let's face it, basketball season did no favors for anybody. And baseball is starting to turning that corner. I'm going to go over that here in just a minute. But as the people start to come back, we want to give them more reasons to come back. And this is what the bobblehead giveaway is also kind of hope perpetuate a little bit.
Yeah, and obviously the baseball team is number 2 now, dropped from number 1 after last weekend in Alabama, but still a lot of energy about that. That was, I suspect that either whether this weekend goes good or not, we'll see. But next weekend you have the possibility of 2 of the top 5 and certainly 2 of the top 10 draft picks playing next weekend at Baum Walker Stadium. Jack Caglione from Florida, who's many thinks will be the number 1 pick, and Hagen Smith. Yeah. They will actually, unless something goes wrong, they'll match up in the first game on the mound. Now, Caglione gets most of his publicity for his home runs. He's number 2 in the country. A lot of people think he'll be, as I said, the number 1 pick. That should be fun next Friday night. I'm expecting, as long as there's good weather, I'm expecting probably the biggest crowd of the season during the regular season for that next Friday night.
Yep. Let's go back for just a minute, like you touched on with the midweek series. Dave had some interesting thoughts after Game 2's win. Let's bring those up real quick.
Night, quick turnaround. Guys go to class, come back. We eat at noon, and here we go. And played a few different guys today, and give them another opportunity or their first opportunity this week, and pitched some different guys. And again, we got behind and fought back, and I think 2 different times we were behind, maybe 3, and used the sack bunt a couple times today. Once effectively for sure, scored a couple after that, and sack fly. Just kind of manufactured some runs, and 2 solo homers. But a really nice job again by the bullpen. Stone there just threw get me over fastball, and the guy hammered it. A lot of times you'll see somebody take one there, but great job responding and striking out the pinch hitter on 3 pitches, and just big wins for us in the midweek.
One key takeaway that I have from that is they fought back. They came back. They were able to fight their way back into the game, both games actually. And, being down 7 runs after a couple of innings, I wasn't sure how this team was going to respond on Tuesday night after what had happened on Sunday at Tuscaloosa. And finally, the bats started to come alive.
Yeah, and some people may not understand this, but I think that game may turn out to be a turning point for the season. It's weird to say that when you're in the midst of a 25-game home and winning streak, when you're, 32-5 now, and obviously 11-4 in the SEC. But I do think that there was a confidence grab out of that game, and there would have been a confidence loss if there had been. I fully would have expected them to lose the next game as well if they'd have lost Tuesday's game. And you would have probably been going to South Carolina, who started off the season like a house of fire, who now has calmed down a little bit, going with lacking some confidence and being on the road. And as we know, Arkansas's won. They've played okay on the road, 2 of 3. And last week just winning 1 of 3. So I think that was a big turning point for them. You could see it in the excitement they had in the 5th inning when they put up 6 runs. After they had fallen down, and you had a national television audience there with Kyle Peterson and Carl Ravitch, and I'm sure some people might have clicked it off early. It's 7-0. Yeah. Others that hung in there got to see a really good ball game, got to see some fight out of the guys, got to see Will McIntyre throw 1 pitch, and they had the lead back, but Will and the others closed it out. There on Tuesday night, big win for them. I think it's more of a behind the box score thing with that Tuesday game. And then Wednesday, obviously, you needed to come back and win again. You've got Peyton Stovall, the 2 Peytons. I'll just talk about it. Peyton Stovall is crushing the ball right now. And it's clear to me that Peyton Hope, and obviously clear to Coach Spanhorn, he's got to be in the lineup somewhere. And somewhere is a relative thing for him. He can do everything but pitch, although he said he can play. That he can pitch as well. That he thinks he can play all 9 in a game. I'd like to see that on one of these midweek games. But then again, you'll end up getting hurt, and so you don't want to do that. But he's got to be in there, whether it's in left field, center field, or right field. Second and third base are pretty well taken now by those 2 guys. You get him in the lineup, and obviously you got to have either Nolan Souza either playing, he'd be the designated hitter or playing somewhere. That cat is a future star, and I guess he's a current star right now. Hit a home run the other day, and which I think he's got 7 or 8 now, and in really limited at bats from what the others have gotten to hit their home runs. So, I just think that that was just a big win for them Tuesday. I was sitting here already writing, how they lost the streak, and how that was going. It was 7-0, and then had to do. Total rewrite and revamp as it got along. I'm sure the fans were happy that, had to put in that extra work, and that's certainly what they did.
Yeah, I'm guaranteeing you were not the only one that was doing a rewrite by the 4th inning because, or 5th inning, really. Because I'll be frank with you, 4:00 was not the best time. I was at work still. I get off work and I look at the score. I bring up stat broadcast on my phone. And I see 7-0. I'm not gonna lie. I'm the first one to tell you. I was like, nope. After what just happened in Tuscaloosa, I don't see this one going well. And then I saw Coach Z post something on Twitter. Oh, this comeback is starting to happen. And I thought, I shouldn't have done it. This lead was too early, too fast. And I hopped over there and I texted one of my buddies and I said, well, I'm fully committed now. I'm in my spot, in my chair. I'm not moving. If this comeback stays, then I am not moving until this thing is over with. And you saw what happened. Top of the 7th inning, give up that home run after they tied it up. I thought, okay, this team's still got some fight left in it. I guarantee something's going to happen here. And sure enough, then Nolan Souza comes up, bottom of the 9th, no outs, bases loaded. And it's nice to see him be able to come in a pinch hit role because that might be something that happens later on. And they were able to take a win and yank it right out of the mouths of the Texas Tech Raiders, which you could tell it kind of broke them after that.
Yeah, and Jack Wagner may not thought it was the right move, but he obviously he'd had 2 hits and had done a good job, during his midweek appearances. But DVH made that decision to get Souza up there. I think automatically he was 0-2, but he fought it off and ended up getting that sacrifice fly. And so it's always the right move when it's successful. But the one thing I do think about these midweek games, and it's tough playing 2 midweek games as they've done last couple of weeks. They'll just have the UAPB one in North Little Rock next week before Florida arrives here. But it has gotten a lot of people a lot of work. Some have gotten out of their slumps. Some have gotten work, out of the bullpen. You had, I think it was 11 pitchers that pitched Tuesday and Wednesday. Some of them did great. Some of them struggled. Ben Bybee it looked great up until the second inning. When they just kind of batted around and I think the last 5 hitters got singles and 6 of the last 7. And then, as DVH was saying, just very rarely that you get 2 innings where both teams score 6 runs. And really, very rarely when the other team scores 6 runs that has fallen behind back, they don't come back and win. But they were able to do that. Again, just an interesting situation for them all that they were allowed to. It's a good thing it was early and they were allowed to come back.
Yep. You look back at the Stillwater Regional when Arkansas had to come back a couple years ago, and it was basically both teams were just bashing the balls, the brain out of the ball, and you wanted to see if this team could do that. You wanted to see if this team could win a 10-11-10 game or an 8-9 game. You haven't seen some of the bats that have been able to do that, and it's more of been a 3-2, 4-2, 5-3 win. You've got this team now able. There's one of the boxes that I've been looking to see if this team could do, and they did check that box off. I want to see them do it a couple more times where they get where it's a high scoring game, and both teams are having to file through their bullpens and finding maybe a guy that can get you a stop, like what happened with, like Parker Coyle, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
I think he probably could have won another inning on Wednesday night because he was throwing lights out. But then you take him out, and Gabe Gackle comes back, and he comes in later in the game, and he finishes it. Or was it Gabe? No, it was.
Gackle finished the last. Gackle finished it's two different games. Gackle on Tuesday night finished the last 5 batters. Then Hewlett came in on Wednesday and finished up and was, obviously got a big line drive double play that Peyton Stovall jumped on. It turned out to be huge when after Cade Morgan for them for Texas Tech, launched one and cut it to 5-4. So obviously that ended up being a game-saving play and game-saving pitch, I guess. So there was a lot of things going on in those 2 games. Lots more really, excitement and fever pitch really in the 2 midweek games than there has been in the previous. I think they're now 9-0 in the midweek games. That's kind of expect that when you've got that kind of record they do overall. But as you said, this was a different way to win, and the one thing they've been able to do consistently for the most part is find ways to win ball games. There's a lot to be said for that. You'd love to club a lot of home runs. You'd love to put a lot of runs up. Obviously you love the pitching. And that's how they've won most of these games. But you love to see that they can do that, and will have it in the back of their minds if they go to South Carolina and fall down this weekend. It won't be as big an issue of them thinking whether they can win on the road.
Yep. And last thing I do want to note about this, and I don't know how you felt about this, but the Wednesday night or the Tuesday night game with Arkansas coming back and taking the lead and then going back and forth towards the end. That really it didn't feel like a midweek game. That felt like a winner-take-all elimination game. Winner goes to the national championship final type feel. There was a lot of pressure at the end of that game because you had to have some guys make some spectacular individual efforts. You had guys that were also having to watch the ball at the plate and in making sure that their at-bats counted. Each pitch was counted. And that's where I feel like the feel of this really is going to help the team. And like you had said earlier, this could be a turning point or a point in the season where you can look back and say, hey, this is where that corner was turned.
Yeah, Coach Tadlock has done a great job down at Texas Tech. I think he's been there 11 years now. They've been to 4 College World Series. Just had a really good program. They came in averaging just a hair under 10 runs a game. And obviously they play in some windy conditions down there at times, but a lot of those offensive stats have been on the road too. They're 9-9 in the Big 12 this year. The Big 12 is a really good conference. I think everybody will admit to that. And they don't have the pitching that they usually had. One of their pitchers is obviously the number 2 starter here, or at least starts in the second game during the weekend. And their catcher had a big hit, obviously, that tied it up the other night on Tuesday in Hudson White. So it's not your normal midweek opponent. As Peyton Stovall and Coach DBH were talking about, it was a test for them. They had to be ready to play. They got punched in the face, I believe was the phrase that Peyton Stovall used, and they were able to fight back, and that's good to see. You don't want to try to do that too many times, so it's always good to have that good pitch and get a lead and keep it out there and roll your bullpen the way you want after you get 6-7 innings out of Hagen Smith. He will be trying to go to lower his 1.53 ERA this weekend on Friday. Try to get his 8th win, and he won't be going against Texas Tech's top pitcher Eli Jones. They're saving him for Saturday's game. Coach Mark Kingston there says that this is not a deal, that he's not just trying to throw away the first game, that he wants to have more length in the second game than they have been. Their bullpen's been getting rocked a little bit. South Carolina beat Vanderbilt, swept them. And then since then, for the next 3 series, they've lost the first 2 games and won the Sunday game. And I know that they want to get out of that pattern. Maybe this is what they're doing. But I also think that there's a nod toward Hagen Smith being on the mound, and you maybe want to take a shot at that second game instead of the first one. We'll see how it plays itself out. But Roman Kimball, 2-1 with a 4.71 ERA, will be making his second SEC start of the season tonight.
So with the South Carolina offense, that Hagen Smith is going to be facing tonight. Are there any spots in that lineup where he might see a little trouble that he might have to work through a little bit?
I think the middle of their order has some really good hitters, and you look at the stats and all of that. But I do think from 1 to 9, the averages have been pretty good there for them. They've been able to hit up and down the lineup. Another team that scored a lot of runs at the start of the season. They were a house of fire at the start of the year. As I said, these last 3 weeks they've lost the first 2 games. Got to give them credit. They did something Jack Crow couldn't do back in the day. They beat Citadel. Earlier this week, so they're coming in off a win. But it's a very good ball club. And just like Florida has a lot of stars, has a lot of firepower. Arkansas is going to see 2 really good offensive teams these next 2 weekends. Maybe not the pitching that some of these other SEC schools have, but they're going to have to score runs probably because Arkansas staff, albeit outside of Hagen, has given up some runs, has been inefficient at times, and throwing strikes has not gone the amount of length that you would like them to. Obviously, when you have a Will McIntyre and some others that come at Cody Frank is a guy that's is an unsung hero there as well in terms of how many innings he's thrown with his handlebar mustache there. It's one of those things that you want to get that first one for sure, and have South Carolina thinking about losing 2 or 3 again, or maybe getting it swept. You got to go down there and you got to take care of business. If you're the true number 2 team in the nation, that's what you'll be. You'll go down there and win the series this weekend, and that's what you try to do when you're on the road. You go down there, try to win the series. If you're able to sweep it, it's just a brilliant, happy thing for you. But you go in, each. I've heard so many SEC coaches say this, really so many college baseball coaches in general, that you're going on the road to win the series. You want to try to sweep it home if you can. Obviously, if you put those things, you'll even it out. But it's a common denominator if you're going to win a conference title, and that's something that Arkansas is now looking up at. They are the leaders in the SEC West by a game over number 1 Texas A&M, and I think legitimately Texas A&M should be number 1 after the weekend Arkansas had and after the last 3 weekends that Texas A&M had. Ironically, they go to Alabama this weekend. We'll see Alabama plays against them. But Kentucky is the number 1 overall team in the SEC standings at 14-1. Had a great season. Those are going to be 2 fun series that I think we're going to see toward the end of the year.
Yep, because Arkansas, they'll be hitting the road to Lexington. I think the series before last of the season,
And
then
yeah.
Yep, and you talked about with A&M on the heels of Arkansas. They've got a huge series with them coming up too in the next couple of weeks as well. Arkansas is going to be able to find out who they are. Maybe not this weekend, but for sure against Florida, because listen, Florida brings it. They're going to. They've got some great pieces like you talked about before. If they can they have to show up for sure next weekend. This weekend, I think that it depends on how they play. If they lose the series, it depends on how they lose the series if that happens. But I don't, from what I've seen over the last couple of games on how they responded to kind of getting their heads bashed in a little bit, it tells me that, and I'm going to bring this up now, the Gorilla Ball. I love the shirts, by the way, that they've started sporting in the dugouts, but I feel like they're starting to embrace a style of ball that this team can kind of hang their hat on, and the accountability's there. So
that being said, I think it's a great moniker and all, but if you're going to that's going to be your motto, you gotta do that. You can't just be a fun picture, a fun thing you have in the locker room. You've got to play that way. And that Gorilla Ball, to my understanding, it's not necessarily hitting home runs, but getting doubles, getting people in with less than 2 outs, getting them, and moving around the base path. If you're gonna call it that, you've got to play that, or it's just a silly moniker.
Yeah, it is, because let's face it, the last time that I can remember whenever Arkansas was actually playing a style like Gorilla Ball was when Chad Spanberger was batting in the middle of the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And that team really that team really bashed the ball a lot. I mean, they were always getting on base. But this team, like you said, we've seen them have that slump. We don't see them pull out of that slump now. And Dave, I think, also has some things to think about with this lineup too, on how he wants to maneuver some of these pieces, because now you've got some guys that weren't batting so well at the first of the season that are starting to heat up, and some guys that are kind of treading right at the status quo. I think it's going to be more of sometimes a game by game basis on who might be having the hot hand.
Yeah, and we go back to that statement that Coach Van Horn made at the first Swatters Club meeting. He made it about Hunter Grimes, but it was, kind of a thing about everybody individually on the team. If you hit, you're going to play. Peyton Holt is hitting. That's why they had to find him a spot in the lineup. Kendall Diggs, we haven't mentioned him. He apparently is going to be back and missed these 2 midweek games for Texas Tech because of a bum shoulder that apparently been bothering him before he dived last weekend, and kind of messed it up a little bit more. But he's supposed to be back this weekend, so and we'll see if that rest helps him a little bit. It's similar to me in that you thought maybe you'd get a little bit more production out of him in this year, as you did with Peyton Stovall last year. And as it turns out, both of these guys were playing through pain and not talking about it, not showing it. You'd like to see Kendall get healthy. He's become a really good outfielder, and but sometimes you stay upright, my man. Stay upright.
Exactly. That's a thing that we can all live by. But so this weekend, speaking of Alabama, they are heading to Bogle Park to take on the Bogle Bombers, starting tonight. I feel like they're starting to catch some more traction there on with the softball team. I didn't see, what are they? Are they ranked 19th in the country now? Did they move up a little bit?
The Arkansas?
Yeah.
There's a variety of polls that they have. The highest they're ranked is 8th. I think the lowest they'll rank is 19th. I think, if I was doing the rankings, I think 16th, somewhere around 14th through 16th, probably an accurate assessment of what they've been doing. Obviously, they've been road warriors. I think it's 10 straight series, 13 to 14, 14 to 15 that they've been able to win on the road. That's an unbelievable streak. But they love playing at home too. And obviously, I think tonight you're going to have a lot of Swifties and softball fans at Bogle Park. They're having a
Yep.
T-shirt giveaway tonight that's reminiscent of the future Miss Kelsey's album that had all the pictures on it. I'm not familiar with the title. Sorry, I'm not disrespecting her. I'm just not a Swiftie. I admire her talent and all that. That should be a fun giveaway for those. And, that's that demographic, especially the young girls who come to watch the softball. That's going to be a big thing for them. I don't know if John's getting one or not, when he's over there taking pictures, but should be interesting. They've got some good promotions this weekend. And, you look up and I was, how I like to send that schedule out and work ahead of time, 2 and 3 weeks, what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
It's coming down. There's only 3 regular season series left for the softball team and only 5 regular season series left for the baseball team. Suddenly, you look back and you remember that whole non-conference slate that they had. The season was halfway over before they played their SEC, first SEC game because of the amount of games. They had down there, played 3 obviously in Arlington. That seemed like forever ago. And here you come down the stretch, and there's some big important games that both of these teams have. And you got to give Coach Deifel credit, as we want to do all the time. She's had a great career, bringing Arkansas from where it was. Coach Murphy has been there 25 years at Alabama, and he's kind of the dean or the veteran coach in the league. They've always had a great program. They've scuffled a little bit here lately. They come in not in a position. They're usually one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the league. They're down around 9th too, although there's not much separation between that bottom half of the conference and the top half. Arkansas sits in 4th place, and he sits in 4th place for a couple of reasons. Number one is because they obviously lost the series to Mississippi State here at home. They've been able to take care of their business on the road, but there's so much fun to watch. We call them the Bogle Bombers, and they do hit plenty of home runs, especially Bree Ellis. But I've been impressed ever since she landed on campus with Reagan Johnson. She just starts everything. If the ball gets in play as an infielder, you're in trouble. And she gets a lot of hits, I think, because infielders and pitchers are scared when they're going to pick up the ball, it's close to home plate. She just flies around those bases, hitting almost 400. Every time that she's gone to steal a base, she's been safe. Obviously, left early on the one that they called out on, but she's just so much fun to watch as they are. 1 to 9, or as Coach Deifel calls it, sometimes 1 to 13, because she's had a lot of different players who've done given a lot of contributions this weekend. It'll be interesting to see how they go on the mound this weekend. You've got 2 defending, or the last 2 SEC or pitchers of the week, and Robin Heron and Morgan Linestock. And you've also, got some others that have given them quality innings. So it'll be interesting to see how they go this weekend. I don't know precisely what Alabama's hitting strengths are, but that's one thing that they clearly are able to target in these games with competition this year. You've got 2 different, really your 2 main pitchers. You've got 2 different types of repertoires to throw at a team, and that's why you've had one be the SEC pitcher of the week one week and the other be it the following week. So I think they're in good hands over there with that after they've gotten over these injuries.
Yeah, because the Alabama team that we saw at the SEC tournament at Bogle is not the same Alabama team that they have this year. And of course,
no 6'3" pitcher this year.
No Montana Fouts this year. But they come into this weekend at 7-8 overall, and you think that they may want to use this as a springboard towards the end of the season. And I know that Coach Deifel is going to do anything and everything in their power to make sure that doesn't happen. And that's where I want to see is what can Arkansas do whenever they get that first surge from Alabama? Are they able to withstand it, and are they able to come back through? Because, like you said, with the speed that they have on the bases, Courtney made a comment about this, and she looked like she kind of made a point after the Texas College World Series Super Regional on how they were, had so much trouble on the bases with Texas speed. And now she's replicated that now. And now she's able to put some get some players on base that might be pinch running, or folks that can also run out those infield hits, like you said, that once it comes to them, they're like, oh crap, I've got to get this out as soon as I can, because if I don't, I'm getting burned at first.
Yeah, well, I think a big key tonight is getting out to a swift lead. Two shows not be here all week. I'll let myself out. Yeah.
Be sure to pick up your Tortured Poets department CD or download on the way out with the QR code.
Yeah,
But
it's Taylor Swift on Kim Kardashian crime. Usually it's the guys that get it, but I understand from reading that she went after Kim K. So
a little bit, and there was some pretty fired up Swifties yesterday too, because they were doing I guess a Wheel of Fortune type thing where they post a letter and they put it out there, kind of like Hangman almost. And somebody went out and had spoiled it before it could be completely published. And I'm going to tell you what, I have never seen a mob like the Swiftie mob go after somebody who had released something before Taylor needed it to be released. I thought that was hilarious. Because I was looking, there was a couple of posts from a couple of Twitter handles that are Swiftie fan sites, and they had over 1.1 million impressions from just somebody getting pissed off at some other person for doing this. And I was like, man,
I think you know a lot more about this than I do. I know that there was a disc Kim K, that it was a double album, which is just 30-something songs or whatever. But yeah, you've got the lowdown there. So,
man, I have a 13-year-old, and then my oldest just turned 18 today, and so I'm going to be honest with you. There's not much getting away from that stuff. So,
yeah, I got to admit, I was listening to a little music last night after midnight, but it wasn't Miss Swift. It was Frank Sinatra and Life of John Mayer on the Sirius XM radio. Kind of my thing to relax.
Yeah, I was out mowing yesterday, and I'm going to tell you what, I had some Michael Franti on. That guy, I mean, I'm going to tell you what, if you're in a bad mood, put you some Michael Franti on. That guy will turn you upside down real fast. I'm telling you, man, you just cannot.
Love the joy he has with his wife on those songs, and obviously, you can't have Michael Franti without Spearhead, right?
No, cannot, man. I'm telling you, he puts you in a good mood every time. Well, Dudley, let's get you out of here, my guy. You got softball, baseball this evening. If I'm not mistaken,
we get out here, and I realized I got us off the trail, but did write a story and put it up. Lots of things were going on yesterday, so it probably rolled off. But if you want to go to Hogville and find out what's going on with Coach Mike Neighbors recruiting, the most interesting thing to me is as I've been on TikTok this week, not because that's one of my things, but because one of the young ladies that visited here during this week, Waita Jennings, has 388,000 TikTok followers, and she's quite the interesting story. One of, I think, 5 that have visited. Obviously they've added 2 high school signees and added Izzy Higginbottom, but you should have a little bit more movement there soon. They've got some spots to fill, at least 4, maybe 5 as we go down the stretch here.
Oh man. As I was going to ask you one quick question, really quick. Status of Sasha Goforth. Is she still on the team? Is she going to step back? Is she going to try to move forward with the team?
It's my understanding it's status quo right now, that she's not with the team. You hope that the medical issues that she's facing, she'll be able to get through those and come back and play again. I look at it as that one of the reasons Arkansas didn't have the year that they wanted to while they were 6-10 in conference, because you lost Jersey Wolfenbarger, who's now at LSU. You only had Talia Scott for 19 years. She's now at Auburn. And Sailor Poffenberger, as far as I know, has not announced where she's going yet. But, you had to restock the cupboard, and that's what they're doing. And, had 3 official visitors this week, 1 last week. That young lady ended up committing to Maryland last weekend, making the move from Rutgers to Maryland. So it's a big time around here for both head basketball coaches.
Yeah.
There's a couple of Kentucky players, former Kentucky players, former Kentucky recruits that will be making their decisions. I understand pretty soon, so we're going to probably see some activity. But I caution everybody that, as Otis has done on social media as well, I caution everybody that in June he'll have a full roster, maybe even go into a little later in the summer. But he knows what he's doing in terms of recruiting. So patience.
Oh yeah, that's tough in the digital world that we live in today, my friend. It is tough. Well, Dudley, thank you, and make sure everybody follow Dudley on Twitter. He'll have all the updates, and also on Hogville Twitter as well.
All baseball games on SEC Network Plus this weekend. The softball games Sunday or Friday and Sunday are SEC Plus, but it's on ESPN2 on Saturday night, and I think it's going to be simulcast on the SEC Network too. So you'll be able to see all 6 of those games if you want to.
Excellent. All right. Well, Dudley, get you out of here.
Go to the women's games. It's here.
Yeah. And yeah, because it's going to be a great weekend for some softball. Maybe not tomorrow, but we'll have to see. They may end up playing a doubleheader or kicking it back a little bit on Saturday. Well, Saturday night. So we'll have to see how the weather holds.
Yeah, if they do, it's my understanding that if it is rained out tomorrow night at 8, they would play a doubleheader on Sunday. You can't. The SEC has a rule in both baseball and football. You can't stay around an extra day. You either play it in the time allotted to 3 days, or it doesn't get played.
Yep. It has a competitive advantage for other players versus a team that may not have had to play on Monday. So that's why they won't do that. All right. Well, Dudley, take care, my friend, and we will see you next Friday.
Sounds good.
All right. Y'all take care and go Hogs.